Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's session of TDU Live. I'm going to be taking you through some new assets that we have here at TDU, courtesy of Turbo Squid. And then I'm also going to take a look at some of the work in progress frames that you all have been rendering and lighting for the Mr. Bean Challenge. So let's get right into it. So let me go ahead and start showing you all what's going on here in our, I'm glad that Jasmine's excited. So big news story is that we have been working with Turbo Squid to get you guys some assets to use, not only for the courses, but we've added a couple to the free asset library as well. And we are extremely excited about this. And there are a handful of people I should thank right off the bat. The first of which is obviously Turbo Squid. If you guys don't know, Turbo Squid is a 3D asset library that you can download models. They have some free stuff. They also have some paid content. And we've been working with them, and they've been kind enough to donate 7 different models that are normally paid for. And these guys actually end up totaling somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,500 to $4,000. They're letting our TDU students use them for free, and you guys can use them on your demo reels. You can use them wherever you'd like for non-commercial reasons, obviously. And they are just very generous about that, very generous with that, and we are extremely appreciative of them for what they've been able to give to us. Secondly, I want to send a big thank out. Oh, and hello, Sash. A big thank you to Hilaire, to Elena, and Eduardo, and Calabaza Muele, and also Elizabeth. Those 3 have been helping Jasmine and I out a ton by actually going through the models and cleaning them up and prepping them up, because some of them are not done in Maya or in other software, and they're not really done always with lighting in mind. So they've been going through and cleaning up the geometry, regrouping things, and assigning some simple shaders to them so that you all can have nice, clean, happy models when you go to download them. So I want to just make sure to say thank you all again. We really could not have gotten these up as quickly without their help and their strength in 3D in order to get this going. So thank you, Calabaza. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you, Hilaire. You guys, thank you. Okay, now let's talk about the models a little bit. The first couple that I'm going to mention here are both available in the free asset library. This is the Parthenon. There's not really much else. I guess there's going to be less to say about these than I thought. So there's the Parthenon here. We also have the Statue of Liberty. These 2 available right now. Go to the free asset library. Anybody, whether you're a TDU student or not, you can grab them, you can download them, start adding them to your reel. Like I said, there are some simple shaders on them right now, but you'll definitely, if you're, depending on how photorealistic you want to get, you'll definitely want to go from there. So then we've got the U.S. Capitol building. This one is a really, really nice one, because again, even though we've got some simple Arnold shaders on there now, you can really get in there and really get after and learn and take what you've learned in both the materials class and all the lighting classes and really kind of go crazy with them here. So this one is available for anyone in the either with the TDU bundle or with the environment course. We've got this Lamborghini, which is very cool. We've got a very simple Arnold. For those that don't know, that Arnold has a car paint shader that has been applied, so you can get right in there and start using that guy. These lighthouses are currently in progress. We'll have those to you all very soon. Those will also be available in the environment class. And we've got this helicopter, again, available in the environment class that you can be able to download, light, add to realistic backgrounds, however you see fit. The last one I want to mention is the swimming pool. So this one is available for you in the environment course right now. And I kind of got excited when I saw this one. I thought this one was very cool, and I kind of wanted to play around with it. So this was the model as it was delivered to us from Turbo Squid. And by the way, all models are done by this artist, 3D Moliere. And he's got just an absolute ton of models on Turbo Squid. So if you like what you're seeing from these models, you can check out some others there. But with this one, I kind of wanted to get in there myself, and I wanted to take this scene and just make it a little bit scarier. So I just put together this one. I kind of forced myself to do a 24-hour lighting challenge. I like to do that sometimes just to kind of familiarize myself with some things. So for next week's TDU Live, I'm going to take you through how I lit this one, and just some of the render layers that I use, like all the graffitis, a separate render pass, all the caustics, and how I went from this. to this using just some very, very simple approaches and very simple techniques in Arnold. So yeah, so if you all have any questions, yeah, let me know and I will be happy to answer those. But in the meantime, we are going to be talking about our, let's see if we can add these here. Now we're going to be talking about our Mr. Bean work in progress files. So we've had a lot of submissions. You guys are blowing me away with how unique and creative you all have been with all this stuff. It's been, I don't know, it's been nothing short of a blast just kind of looking through these. I think I got all of them. I've been checking on them as you've been uploading them. I try to get them like just a minute. I actually started a couple minutes late with this live session because I wanted to give you all enough time and opportunity to get things posted. And I think I have them all. If I missed anybody, please just comment and I'll hop over into the Facebook group and grab them from there. So I'm going to be talking about these, but I don't want to show anybody any preference. So I'm just going to kind of do a Wheel of Fortune thing here to see where we start. And there we go. All right, cool. So we're starting off with Moises Gonzalez. And this one here, it's a darker, kind of moodier Mr. Bean. And a couple things that I want to point out here. The first one, and we talked about this in the lighting group as well, but just something to be aware of. You've got a lot of noise coming in through the ear here. And I think that might be the subsurface on the shader. I think you may need to increase the subsurface sampling on that. Because I'm not seeing it in the specular highlights and I'm not seeing it in the diffuse values. I'm really kind of only seeing it in there. So I would just watch out for that. And then we've got this little hint of light coming up here. The things that I'm really liking about it, I love the mystery of it. I love how we're just getting a little hint of what is going on with him. It's not, this is actually a more sinister look at Mr. Bean. And I love when lighting can kind of reveal elements about something. It doesn't sell the whole story. It doesn't give away the farm. It just gives you a little snippet of different things. Like, again, we have no idea what's going on with this side of his face, but we have a feeling of the hair. We have the feeling of his facial features and all that kind of stuff. The one thing I would say, I would kind of flip the balance of these two. I basically, I want to see a little bit more out of this light, and perhaps, this one could potentially stay up at the level that it's at, but I would just like to see, let me just push this a little more and see if we can get that. Let's see if we can just push this. Yeah, let's do it this way. Let's go ahead and grab the whole thing, copy paste it. Then I will increase the levels on that. And then I will just, this is again, definitely not what you want to do for the final version. But just to kind of mock up and dial in the value a little bit. This is a little bit too much, but I would just kind of want to see a little bit more out of them. And I'm really liking the shaping that you're getting. I like this kind of, triangle that's happening down in the lower side of his face. It's just hitting him a little bit frontally. And I would like to see it come in a little bit more from this screen right side. So it's kind of scraping across them. And you don't necessarily have to push a little bit of light over here on this side, but just so it's not quite hitting them quite so. I mean, like there's a little bit of angle here, but I want to pick up a little bit more on the contours of them and have like this shadow get a little bit more going across. But it seems like you're doing a good job of getting some barn doors in there and making all that stuff happen. That's really cool. Another thing that I would want to see is just the darkness on this shirt. I want to kind of get that to read just a touch more, just to kind of get that to separate out a little bit. It's looking a little bit dirty on that part, and that's, yeah, I would kind of want to see that a little bit. But yeah, I think that's it. Maybe, like I said, there's a lot of darkness here. You're getting maybe just a touch of a rim light on this side. Maybe not. You can play around with that. But really, just to kind of read that shape a little bit more, and just to kind of feel his shoulder here and off the edge a little bit. And also try and get, you can see it a little bit. Maybe it's just the low res, but there's some really nice specular highlights in the skin over here on this side, on the screen left side. I would just try and get some of those specular highlights there on the screen right side as well. And then as far as the eye dings go, they're a little bit small, a little bit, this is a tough one. It's a little bit crisp and a little perfect, especially on this side. I would almost expect it to be a little bit softer because it is like a little bit of a low light situation. So think of it more as a reflection of the light source and not so much a crystal clear, perfect pin ding light like that. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next one here. We've got Paulo, and there's a couple of these space flight Mr. Beans going around, and I'm absolutely loving them. I think they're really, really cool. I think this one's a lot of fun. I love how you're incorporating these red elements up onto his face a little bit. It looks like he may not have hair here. I could be wrong about that, but that's probably just the work in progress-y nature of it. Love these little bits of reflections that we're getting in this glass here. I would love to see a little more of the reflected surroundings in this area, in the area of glass around him. And actually, I don't know for sure if you are lighting all of this or just him and integrating him into the space. So you know what? I'll just talk about him a little bit and make sure. But yeah, I would get some more reflections on there and maybe blur out the background just a touch, and get him there. And then the one thing about his character lighting is we've got a challenge on our hands. So we've got all these bright reds in here. And my red circle is not going to make a dent there. So we've got all these red circles down there, or these red lines going across, and that's really going to focus the eye. Like our eye is definitely going to want to focus in down there, more so than we're reading him. So I would say that we need to figure out a way to get him to really read a little more. Maybe it's getting a little more light on him. Maybe it's getting some more rim light on him to get him to pop off from the background. And maybe, I'm trying to think, that would probably be the two things that I would do that would get him to read off. The one thing that I really like about this that still makes it kind of Mr. Beanie and whimsical is that this, what I guess is the steering wheel on this flying saucer, is like up by his face, which makes me think he's driving it like this, like he's like some little kid in a car. Like it wasn't really meant for him. Like he's awkwardly doing it, and I think that's really nice. There's something about the framing of it that's traditionally not what you want to do. You definitely don't want to block the character's face with the steering wheel, but there's something about it that's very, very Mr. Bean. I would also create some like rim light around this guy, and really use this red color as a justification to really create some reds inside of him. Or, additionally, and I just thought about this, additionally, you could complement these reds with like a green or a cooler magenta or something on the inside there, and using that to really get them to pop off. But that'd be definitely something cool. I like this eye's a little bit too bright, but I like where we're going with that. You kind of want those eye whites to read. So making sure that we're getting light in on around his eye sockets would be a big help in that. And I think that would definitely go a long way in that. But love the creativity of this. Keep going with it. It's really, really a fun little one. So let's see. So now we're going to do Paulo. So Paulo has, let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and close these so I don't double up on them. Okay, so now we have Paulo. Paulo submitted some reference images, which is great. We've got Alfred Hitchcock, one of the greatest directors of all time, and we're using this as our reference point. And I think that's great. That's a huge help because it helps us get a better understanding of what your goals are. So let's look at the reference first. So one of the things about the reference, we've got the underlight. We've got him over a gray background. We've got some variation in his tones here, which is really nice. He's got like the dark suit, the white shirt, the tie, which is very beneficial in what we're doing. One thing that I want to point out about this is the framing. So Alfred Hitchcock obviously created these very suspenseful thrillers. He created, movies like The Birds and Rear Window and just some of my favorite movies of all time. So he's got this kind of creepy element to him. And they're taking advantage of that in this photo shoot by doing a really strange framing method, which is leaving the top half of the frame just wide open and then just kind of pushing him down to the bottom half of it. And what that's doing is it's kind of creating this kind of weird imbalance, because normally when you're looking at a portrait, you're going to see this. They're going to take up the majority, a little bit of breathing room at the top, but they didn't do this here. This is a little bit of an odd frame. It's a little bit of an odd placement. And I think we can play off of that a little bit here with Mr. Bean. I think you can, you don't even need to like render extra space or something in the comp. You can just add a whole bunch of extra value up here at the top and get that same type of imbalanced composition to help get that read. Additionally, with him, a few things about his lighting, and actually let me go back to one other thing, is just that in this shot, he's being lit over this gray background with some variation and stuff in there too. I would try and match up to that as well. Lighting over black can be a little bit misleading. It's a little tough because, again, there's like spots like here where his hair is blending in perfectly with the background, and that's not always ideal. Like it's just, you want to make sure to kind of separate out that space a little bit, and it's really nice just to kind of have that gradation in the background. I really like how you're getting the read up here on his face. That's really nice. Again, in the reference, this is a little bit darker. The white shirt is the white shirt. And you're able to, actually, I like yours better, that you're able to get this white shirt to read a little bit darker. One thing about the underlight is that this area right around his mouth is getting a little bit too bright. So if you're using RenderMan, one of the cool things about RenderMan is that is the rod filter. So you can use the rod filter to create a little range of darkness there, because really what we want is the brightest regions to be focused in around his eyes here. That's really what we want. And of course you want the shadows coming up and all that kind of stuff, but really feeling the underlight and all that stuff. Again, same thing. This might be just because it's low res, but a little bit of noise in the ear there. But that's causing this rim light, which is really nice. And it's just, yeah, so that's good. Just watch out for that. And I would also maybe push some of the subsurface scattering to be right in there. So that would be really good. And then want to see some more specular highlights in the hair. In the example that I put together in the walkthrough that I did, I showed how you can get some reflections in there. And I think you could benefit by doing something that's quite similarly. I like, again, how you're getting his eyes to pop out, but these eye dings are in a couple of different spots. And I would really see, this is a tough part, again, with the underlighting, because you don't necessarily want to put the eye dings down below. You don't want it too much underneath the eye. You do, like, you still kind of want them up there. But what I would do is I would do it more as a reflection of the surroundings, and kind of create a little bit more of an environment that way by putting in some reflections in there. So again, okay, so just to recap, we've got kind of a gray background, some more rim light on this side, more of a focus on the eyes, the rod filter, the composition difference would be good. And then just watch out for these super warms up underneath his eyebrow there. I'm not quite sure what's causing that, so just something to be aware of there. And then let's see what else we have. We're going to go ahead and move on from there. Next up, we've got Jonah Pine. Really, again, I just keep saying really cool stuff, but I definitely love this film noir look to it. We're getting the slashing lights across his eyes. I love the position of it, because what we're able to do is get the slashing to be like specifically on his eyes. One of the things that I would like to see is a little bit more shaping in his iris. The irises are kind of flattening out a little bit, so that I would want the screen right side to be darker than the screen left side, because again, the irises are like dimples that go in, and they are and you're going to want to see the side opposite the key light be a little bit brighter. Additionally, with this guy, I would just, like, you're getting some nice highlights on the hair. I would expect I want these areas to get a little bit brighter. It's just they're a little bit muddy. And overall, let's see. Overall, I think we can push the dark values a little bit more, and then push up these lights. So let's see if we can maybe something along that region as well. So just basically increasing the contrast overall, and really looking at, and I would definitely look at the Third Man and all the film noir films to really get a sense of just how dark we want to make those darks, and then how bright to make the brights here. So because I think we can push them a little bit more on both ends. But this is a lot of fun. This is a really, really cool one too. All right. Move on from here. Mr. J. Lopez. This one, I actually laughed out loud when I saw this one. I thought this one was really great. Mr. Bean, again, has become a space traveler, and I don't know when that happened because this is his second interstellar submission that we've had. It's a lot of fun. So the first thing that I want to, so I'm just going to, again, not quite sure how much of this is you have control over if you're doing all the CG stuff on this. This looks like it's integrated into another background plate. And I should say it's actually integrated really, really well. The shadow's looking pretty good. The only thing about the shadow is it's darkening the other shadows around it, which is, it's a little bit tricky, and it's a little bit like that'll take some more finesse work. But idea is that his cast shadow down here wouldn't double up with, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. You can see how it's like doubling up here on some of the existing shadows. So it just takes a little bit of hand painting on a still frame to get the shadows to blend in with the existing shadows. Because again, the shadows aren't the addition of darkness, they're just the absence of light. So when shadows get pushed together, they don't get darker, they just get the same. In terms of his lighting, he's looking really good. He's matching the space really well. I would just want to push some more fill light into the screen right side of his face and really kind of fill up those regions. You can see it on the characters back behind him, especially the woman that's directly behind him to this side. I would say that you can you're getting a little bit more fill light out of her, and I'd like to see that of him because he's looking a little bit dark and dingy and dirt. Like, I don't want to use the term dirty, but and I don't mean that as an insult. That's a common description that we have. Let's see if we can't move this guy around a little bit. If it was more, this might be a little bit too much, but actually, you know what? I'm going to do something else while I'm in here too. I'm thinking his skin's looking a little bit saturated, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the saturation out just a touch. And then there we go. So maybe something a little bit more along those lines. I pulled out too much saturation out of them. Let's go ahead and mix these back together. Make this just a little bit brighter. Maybe something along those lines in terms of the brightness on his face would be a good one. But just because there's he's surrounded by a ton of there's just like a ton of ambient light in there, right? And it would be really, really cool to get that. But I think, again, really fun challenge. It would be, just keep going with it, and I would go from there. Let's see, see, right. We'll do it. Hop to that one. We'll do Calabaza Muele. So, God, again, you guys are killing it with the creativity here. In fact, let me just hop over. I realize I'm just kind of diving deep. Oh yeah, hi. For those that, yeah. So in case anyone's seeing the noises, here's my son. This is Parker. He's just hanging out in my lap because I'm on paternity leave. And the last couple TDU lives, I've been able to have a friend watch him, but he's been a trooper and been in my lap the whole time. So, yeah. So if you hear little cooing sounds or see me doing strange things with my hand or looking down this way, that's happening. I was trying to hide it, so I know. Okay, he can sit in for the rest. He can hang out for the rest, so you can kind of see. Just kind of pop him in there. Hi, guys. How you doing? All right. Okay, so now we're going to do Calabaza Muele. And for this one is, again, you guys are killing it with the creativity. You all are you're blowing me away with what I, like when Jasmine and I came up with this challenge idea, we were like, oh, this would be cool. There'll be some like different backgrounds or different, like you guys are just killing it with the creativity. So I want to commend you for that. So we've got this setting, this like you're doing a really, really good job of like focusing the attention on him. One of the things I noticed right away, which is kind of creepy, is that these eyes are kind of creeping up over the edge of his hair, which is a lot of fun. And you can see more highlights in the reflection of the eye. I love that. So it's like Mr. Bean has done something horribly wrong, again, because of the interstellar, the inner space stuff from the other projects. It's like he's intergalactically traveling, and now he's facing a jury, and things are going tough for him. But I love the underlighting on him. It's like really, really beautiful stuff. Again, same deal with the other underlighting is I would try and get more light up around his eyes and watch out for the highlights in here or the hot spots in there. The shirt can get, I love that you're focusing the attention on the face, but the shirt can get, you can feel a little bit more on that there. I know that all of these guys are getting these kind of neutral, cool rims, and you're trying to mimic that there on Mr. Bean. But I would also, my instinct is to create red rib on him so he can feel so you can feel these eyes on him, like physically glowing upon him. I would maybe try doing that a little bit and just trying to get some more reds in his actual lighting. Like you're doing a good job of getting it in the fill value, but just feeling it as a source light going on in there. I love that you're this wacky focal length. You must be at like, a focal length of like 12 millimeters or something, because it's like super wide angle, and he's already a weird looking dude. I think it makes him look extra weird looking. And the other thing would be the eye dings. I would adjust that as well. And I would make those maybe a little bit redder, and they're a little bit too crisp right now, a little bit too small. Again, there's a lot of ambient light in this space. I would go ahead and make it about the reflections and make it about seeing those reflections in the space, and not worry about getting such a crisp eye-ding there. So now Sash is doing the Joker. Again, you guys are killing it with these, with the rod filters and the gobos and getting stuff to focus. I would just shift this one a little bit more. So again, it's around his eye there. Because when I'm looking at it, like if I blur this out a little bit, my first instinct or my first, my first impression is to go straight for that bright part of his nose. And like if we just kind of like blur this to oblivion, too much. You'll see that this is the brightest area, right? So my eye is going to go right there. And really what you want is you want to focus it more on the eye up here. So just bring that bright spot up a little bit. And I would try and get a little bit of the bright hit here on the mouth, just because that's like a telltale sign of the Joker, is just like the red mouth, the green hair, all that stuff. And then get a little bit more eye reflections in there. One thing you want to watch out for with this eye on this side, it's a little bit of a sharp contrast point right here between those guys. So maybe run a little bit of an ambient occlusion and get that to kind of like, because you just want to create like a little bit of an edge shadow and get it to kind of set back into his into the space a little bit. Watch out, you're having the same issue that I had, and I think it's with the default shader on this. Just like a lot of specular noise in the blazer there. I would just, using either the crypto mats or just adjusting the shader itself, I would pull out some of the specular highlights on both the shirt and the jacket there. And then the last thing, and this is where I would push it one way or the other with the skin tone, either make it less saturated or more saturated, in that you either want it to be like a white makeup like the Joker, or you want it to be kind of more of a natural skin tone. But I think, again, you guys are all over the place with the astronaut Mr. Bean, and this is like serial killer Mr. Bean of Joker fame. But definitely, yeah. So more eye reflections, get this up around his eye, this bright spot here, maybe a little focus there. Watch out for the specular highlights in there. And I should mention this too. I love this subtle gradient variation in the background. And I know that we talked about not lighting over black, but in this case, you're doing a really good job of creating a slight value difference between his silhouette and the background to get him to read a little bit. So really, really good job there. A couple more here. Oh, yes. So Pasquale Giordino, this is, I'm guessing he's like leaning out of a taxi cab here, but the way that it's scaled and the way that it's put together, this almost looks like an abstract painting. I was thinking this feels like almost like a Salvador Dali painting, where it's just like it's very shape oriented and there's like a weird reflection there. The things I would watch out for is, yeah, you think so? And then, you're getting the eye whites on this side are a little bit too bright. I would tone those down and kind of flip flop their values. So like this side is darker than this side, but this is the key side. So I would expect that sclera to be brighter and this one to be a little bit on the darker side. Want to get a little bit more fill on that side of his face. Maybe just getting some bounce. It's just, again, that amount of darkness and the character starts to lose saturation, lose brightness, and start to look a little bit dirty. His hair could use a little bit more contrast. It's looking a little bit low contrast in that region there. I like again, the rimminess that you're getting, the separation from the background. I also really like the strange aspect ratio of this, so like the vertical aspect ratio. Just watch out for this guy in the foreground. Maybe nudge that down a little bit. So it's make it so it's like blocking more of his face or less of his face. But the problem is that kind of feels like an abstract shape. And I'm not quite sure if that's a rear view mirror or what the deal is with that guy. So I would either remove it or slide it down a little bit. The skin is also looking a little bit on the diffuse side. I would work to get some more specular values in the skin there. And then, yeah. And then other than that, clean up the eye dings a little bit. They're a little bit cross-eyed here. Not a big deal there. But all in all, I feel like this is definitely a unique take on him and one that I didn't see in his. It's another reason why I like this one is it's really taking advantage of his expression and taking advantage of that shocked Mr. Bean look, which is kind of cool. And then last but not least, we got Vedat. Thank you for your patience, Vedat, if you're on. Let's see. And really, really loving, well, first off, the reference. This is No Country for Old Men. If you guys haven't seen that, it's an incredible film, one of my favorite films in the last 15 years. Love the specular highlight that you're getting on his hair. Love the dings that you're getting in his eyes. I would make them slightly softer and a little bigger. It looks like you're painting in a Mr. Bean mustache, which is very funny. I would actually tone that out a little bit because he already has hair on his head, and when it's not hair on the mustache, it took me a second to realize it. It looked like a shadow to me and looked a little bit more like a smudge. So A, for creativity and effort, definitely keep I like the adjustments that you made again to the skin and the blood splatter up here on the head to match. And, but I would just maybe, again, A, for effort, I would just pull back on the mustache and allow him, unless it's going to be fur, to not really do it. In terms of the lighting, I would like to see a little bit less, and again, this kind of goes against what I was saying in some of the other ones, but I would go with a little bit less rim on his screen right side. And I would push for a little bit of the shadows that we're getting here out of the key light are a little bit sharp. I would make those a little bit softer. And then I would focus, even though we've got the good specular highlight there, one of the things I really like about it is his hair is getting darker here. And you can see the brightest part of his face is right in here. I would, again, right now yours is doing the same, and it's kind of up and down there. I would just kind of try and zero it in more on his specific face. So again, keep the beautiful specular highlights that you're getting in his hair there, and the nice shaping that you're getting on his shirt, but just tone down the values overall. And then I would also, let me look here real quick. Get a little bit of, yeah, you want to get a little bit more of the blood on his jacket here, and then push a little bit more. You know, you can, yeah. I kind of like this depth of field here too, to kind of separate him off from this background a little bit. Because one of the things about a chain link fence or something that's got that type of a pattern to it is that it's a complex pattern that really draws the eye. And by softening up a little bit around his head here, we're able to get him to pop off forward. And then one thing too, if you have control over this, I would just slide the chain link fence outside of there. It's just, there's, you know, just the way that chain link fences are. That was, again, something totally personal, just as someone who's put up chain link fences before. It was just something I noticed right away is feeling a little bit artificial. So I would just slide that out that way. But other than that, guys, this is looking absolutely incredible. Like I said, you all are absolutely killing it with it. And I'm going, Jasmine and I are going to have a really hard time deciding a winner. But what we're going to do is in the next day or two, I'll go ahead and put a final submission topic in the Facebook group. And then once you're ready with your final submissions, again, you have until April 1st. Go ahead and add your submissions as comments down below that. If you want to add them as JPEGs, that's totally fine. You can upload them there. If you want to give us a link to download the image, we can do that there. And then we will be reviewing those and checking out all the amazing work that you guys do. So make sure to tell your friends about it and get everyone involved. And also, I know we've called this a competition, but please feel free to comment on each other's works. The best, again, this is a short-term deal. Maybe we'll give bonus points if you comment on other people's works. We want to hear you guys interacting with each other, because that's the only way that you're going to get better as an artist, and the only way that we're going to get better as a community is when we work together. And it really, really, and this sounds crazy, but the more critiquing that you do, the better artist that you become. So if you all have any other questions, feel free to comment in the comments down below. But yeah, we're happy to have you guys here today. Parker and I are super pumped with the work that we're doing. So bye guys. Have a wonderful day. Take it easy. All right. Until next week, we will, and again, next week I'll be going through a step-by-step of lighting of that shot. And it looks like we are about to cry here. So I am just out of time. So take care. Have a wonderful day, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.